welcome back to another episode of Strawberry Ink. Today, our focus will be the country of Panama. In 2023, residents were upset with their government because the government had proposed collaborating with a Canadian company to make a pipeline that would require destroying Panama's jungles. This meant that the natural habitat of animals would be affected. The construction would as well affect people's homes in certain neighborhoods, because they would have to be demolished. It would as well so badly pollute the water in a river that the country really benefited from. This led to protests in the country against the government. These protests were advertised on social media and started off peaceful, but would then become violent. The Panamanian National Police sprayed tear gas on protesters. There were 5 people in the country who would end up in legal trouble due to the deaths they caused of protesters against the government. One of these 5 people was Kenneth Darlington, a 77-year-old American lawyer and professor. I would like to point out that if you want success in your movement, use TikTok. You will get a lot of views. You will catch a lot of attention. Anyways, I'm gonna talk even more now before I actually start the episode. Whether you guys are in a city with a corrupt mayor, or in a country with a corrupt dictator, president, whatever you want to call it, monarch, please stand up for your people, stand up for your community, get together and go out and protest, even if it means getting arrested. I just finished watching a documentary about folk singer Joan Baez. The documentary's name is I Am a Noise, and it's available either at local libraries. You could check it out for a week or two and put it in a CD player if you have one. If not, you could also purchase it on Amazon Prime or rent it. Or you could look up online and find other methods to watch it. She was an activist who was arrested for participating in civil rights protests, which we know Martin Luther King Jr., the black minister, was a key figure in that movement. And in Haiti, there have been lots of protests, which they've been deadly. I bet several arrests must have been made, but they're standing up for themselves. And in Venezuela also, but just not enough. It's sad to see groups of people leaving their own country just because the government is doing a bad job instead of standing up for themselves and fighting against this government. Anyways, that's what the brave people of Panama did in this era. Now, I would like to speak about what they were protesting for. Against a mine that would have destroyed the habitat of several animals. I'm happy in the end this bill did not pass, the mine was not made. Our animals deserve our respect. They deserve us to leave them alone, to let them have their own habitat. It's like as if a group of gorillas would come over to our houses and destroy them. Would we like that? No. So let's not do it to the animals. Let's adopt dogs, adopt cats, foster animals. Let's treat them well. Now, before I start, once again, I'm sorry if I'm talking so much. I would like to wish my Muslim friends a happy Ramadan, and my Catholic friends a happy Ash Wednesday. And to all the followers of Christ, happy Lent. I wish you the best of luck in the next 40 days. I would also like to congratulate you if you did your fasting today. For me, it went super good. I perfectly did my fasting. I'm not trying to brag, but it's beautiful to do something and to not feel any negative impacts about it. So, the person we're discussing today is Kenneth Darlington, as I mentioned in the beginning of the episode. He is a white male of American descent. He's in his 70s. He was in his 70s when he committed the crime we will be discussing today. And I remember when the double murder he was accused of occurred, I remember seeing the viral video, which literally shows him shooting the two poor victims. Two people who were beautiful people, humble people. They were good role models to society, but unfortunately they didn't last long. They died at young ages. They were too young to die. It was not fair to them, and it's not fair to their families. And the actions of the suspect, Kenneth Darlington, are an example of human stupidity. He unnecessarily got off his car and committed this horrific crime. He's not the first example of human stupidity. I've seen other men who look just like him. The white hair, the round glasses, big eyes, and the rude attitude, which is the attitude that Kenneth Darlington expressed. He was a lawyer and a professor. Who would want to have him as a professor? What a shame. Now, without further ado, let's get started again. On November 7th, 2023, while the protests were going on, Darlington was with his wife and another woman who was one of their friends. They had been running errands. They then got back on the road. Once they approached the town of Chame, they spotted a small protest that had been going on the road. Kenneth then said, "This ends now," and got out of the car. Most of these protesters were staff members of a local school nearby. Kenneth approached the protesters armed with a handgun and confronted them. He claimed he would not shoot women and that he wanted a man to fight him. Then, two men came up to talk to him. Kenneth shot these two men. One of them, Abdiel Chavez, was a teacher of the school and died at the scene. He was taken to the coroner's office in Panama City. The other one, Ivan Rodriguez, a staff member of the school who was married to one of the teachers, was still alive and taken to the Carlos Ortega Clinic. However, he was pronounced dead later that day. Meanwhile, Kenneth returned to the car that his wife was driving. He pleaded for her to drive away from the scene, but she refused to. Good for her. The Panamanian National Police, who were nearby, approached the vehicle and asked Kenneth to step out. He was then arrested without further incident. I am very surprised Kenneth did not shoot his wife for refusing to help him get away with his crimes. I bet he's living a grumpy life right now, behind bars and blaming his issues on her. Kenneth Darlington was taken to the National Police's headquarters in Panama City, where he spent the night. The following day, he was brought before a guarantee judge, Xavier Flores, at the criminal court in the town of La Chorrera. Prosecutor Gustavino Quill announced 2 charges of murder and 2 charges of unlawful use of a firearm. Judge Flores ordered that Kenneth Darlington be held on a pretrial detention. Meanwhile, the funeral of the victims was held. They both had a mass on November 10th at the Maria Auxiliadora de Bejuco Church. They were afterwards cremated by the Virgin of Fatima Funeral Home. Kenneth was temporarily housed at a jail known as El Renacer for psychiatric evaluations. The psychiatrist weeks later determined that he showed no signs of having a mental illness. Kenneth was then moved to another facility, the La Jolla Penitentiary, where the system wanted him to await trial. However, Kenneth's defense attorney, Jorge Ceballos, appealed the decision to have him remain in custody and seek to instead have him be on house arrest. The Panamanian Appeals Court denied the request, but did order that Kenneth be put in a facility where he could better be taken care of due to his elderly age. Therefore, he was moved to another penitentiary, La Nueva Joya. Then in June 2024, he was put on trial in Panama City. Kenneth had no criminal record. He was arrested after the National Police raided his apartment in 2007, but was eventually acquitted through an appeal. There was an attorney for each party. Eliezer Plisset prosecuting on behalf of victim Ivan Rodriguez, and Gustavino Quill prosecuting on behalf of the other victim. Then Kenneth Darlington had his defense attorney, Jorge Ceballos, continue to represent him throughout his trial. The prosecution claimed he acted with malice intention when killing the two innocent victims. On the other hand, Kenneth's defense claimed that the shooting was an innocent act of violence due to the diminished capacity from his old age. However, the panel of 3 judges convicted him of all 4 charges. In this panel was Panama City Chief Judge Luis Ceballos, Chordera Guarantee Judge Xavier Flores, and Panama City Guarantee Judge Ibris Ibarra. Chief Judge Luis Ceballos then combined the charges together and sentenced Kenneth Darlington to 48 years in prison. Kenneth has since appealed his case and is awaiting a decision for that. Meanwhile, he is serving his sentence at the La Joyita prison. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Strawberry Ink. I'm Santiago, and please support me by following this podcast and sharing it to your loved ones. If you're doing Lent, good luck. I wish you the best. Please stay humble, be kind to others, have patience with others, even if it's difficult at times, even if life gets hard, and take care of yourselves. Till next time, have a good rest of your day.